How y'all doing? Welcome to the Tea Factory podcast. Thank you for stopping by and reviewing this episode with me today. Today we are going to talk about the Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 16, episode 17. So we are to the finale. This is the finale episode. We made it through the season 16. And I will say that season 16 was it was good on a scale of 1 to 10. I give it an 8. There was a few people there that they could have did a lot better than they performed, but I give it an 8, and I'll go into that a little bit later. But first, please hit that subscribe button. Please subscribe to the channel so you can be notified whenever we upload new videos, and then it also helps the channel grow. And it push it to the algorithm. So please like, comment, more importantly, though, subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. And thank you for coming to the Tea Factory podcast to review and listen to this recap. So, as stated, episode 17 is the finale episode. And I give it an 8 because, you know, like I said, there were some characters that could have performed a lot better than they did, but so far, so good. So episode 17 picks up where the last one ended. You know, at the 16 ended with Porsha telling the girls that Londi had passed away. So 17 picks up from there because we see Porsha and her sister Lauren going to Phaedra's house to talk to Phaedra about doing the funeral services for Londi. And, you know, because, you know, Porsha is involved in the funeral. She has a business. I don't know if she owns her funeral businesses services or she's working with Willie. I think there's a big funeral services family here that in Atlanta that have several locations, and I think she works with them. But anyway, nevertheless, they have reached out to her to help. So Porsha and Lauren, they go over to her house to discuss and also film the scene. So first I want to say, you know, Phaedra's house is beautiful. Let me start there. I like her house. Her house is beautiful. And then Phaedra, the way she was dressed, you know, she was dressed to the nine. Obviously she knew she was filming, but, you know, she just always... Phaedra does not miss when it comes to, well, there was a couple times where the wigs weren't cute, but when it comes to her fashion, she doesn't miss. She's a fashionista as well. She looks nice. Her house looked nice. So Lauren and Porsha come over, and, you know, they're in the kitchen talking about Londi, and Porsha tells her that Lauren was on the phone with her when she passed, and so that was, you know, I'm sure very traumatic experience for Lauren, and I'm sure, you know, that's just something that's bothering her. But I will say, as a side note, this is something that I noticed. Is it me, or does Lauren always look like she's high? I don't know. She just looked like she had smoked a blunt or something before she filmed that scene. And then, you know, they were getting a drink, and Porsha was like, she doesn't understand how she doesn't drink, or she, you know, drink a little something to help her deal with, you know, the loss of their cousin. But I was thinking to myself, girl, she already looks like she's already high. She doesn't need to drink anything. I don't know. It could be just because she didn't have any makeup on. But, you know, I digress. So then, so they're sitting down to eat, and Phaedra has like these beautiful plate sets, right? And they have butterflies on them. So the plates had butterflies on them. They were beautiful plate sets. And Lauren says, oh my goodness, I've been seeing butterflies everywhere I go because Lonnie liked butterflies. And she just mentioned how she keeps seeing butterflies wherever she goes. And then Porsha says something about maybe having butterflies at the funeral service. But then Porsha asked if the butterflies can come back to the owners. I thought that was a silly question. And Lauren and Phaedra looked at each other, and then Phaedra said, well, I don't think that they're trained. I don't think that there's any trained butterflies. But that was like a blonde moment, okay? No offense to my blonde friends and listeners, but it was just a blonde moment. And it was one of kind of like when Porsha said that one time about the Underground Railroad, and she made that silly, stupid comment about the underground, and she should know better because her grandfather is Hosea Williams, who was part of, the civil rights movement and stuff like that. But anyway, I thought that was a funny moment, and I haven't heard anybody really mention that part. But yeah, she said that. She said, "Are the butterflies trained?" Well, if you release them at the funeral services, she thought you release them, they're gonna come back to the owner. Girl, sometimes I don't know if she was being funny or she was serious, and she was just having a silly moment. But anyway, so the next scene, they show Angela. Angela goes to go see her therapist. Her name is Wendy. She's this old white woman that looks like a hippie, okay? She looked like a hippie, and she looked like she down for whatever. Okay? That's what Wendy looks like. Wendy looks like she's down for whatever. And, but, I like her. She seems like a good therapist. So Angela was telling her therapist, Wendy, that she has been in the ditch financially. She's having financial problems, and she's in the ditch, and she has lost a lot of money dealing with these houses because, Angela is a real estate investor, and she was sharing with her that she has lost some money and she's gone into foreclosure on some of those properties. And then some of the properties she's had to sell them for less. Okay, like she had to sell them for pretty much the same price that she bought them for. So she really didn't make any money off of it. And then some of them may end up going into foreclosure. So she talks to her about her relationship with Charles and the girls. And then, how the girls are always coming for Charles, saying that Charles is cheating and Charles is doing this and Charles is doing that. So she was sharing that with Wendy. And one thing I can say about Angela is that she's real. She lays it all out there for you. She's real. She doesn't hide it. So she talks about her relationship issues with Charles. She talks about her real estate endeavor and how she has lost money and how she's $2 million in debt. That's what she has shared with us. So she's very transparent. She tells us everything. Where the other girls, not everything, but she tells us a lot and the major stuff that's happening with her. While the other girls, they lie, they hide, and they fabricate. All of them. Even my girls that I like on the show. But Angela is real, and I appreciate that. And and I liked how her therapist was. When she was talking to her, when she was telling her that, when she was sharing with her how that guy Marcus approached her. And how he has said, if your name is Angela, or this message is to Angela, your husband's cheating on you. She shared that with her. And then the lady was like, well, how does that make you feel? And she's like, I need to check them. I need to address that. And then she was like, and what's that going to do for you? And she said, I want them to know that don't fuck with me. Leave me the fuck alone, I could feel that, I understand what she was saying. So her therapist was like, okay. So like I said, her therapist looked like a peaceful hippie from California. That's what the therapist looked like, okay? So next they show us Shamea. She's at her music showcase. So Shamea is doing a showcase. I guess she wants to go on tour. She made an album, so now she has to, to promote that album, so she can get her album sales. And then, make some money and live her dream and do what she wants to do musically. So she held a music showcase. And the people who were there were Kelly, Cynthia, Phaedra, Brit, and Drew, Angela. They were there. And then, of course, her family, her parents, and a host of other people were there. So, and then the host for the event was Miss Pat. Miss Pat, she's a comedian. And then she's from Atlanta, and then she also has her own TV show on BET. But Miss Pat also used to be on the Big Tigger show with Shamea. Yeah. Because I was like, wait a minute, they work together. Yeah. So Shamea and Miss Pat used to work together on V103 with Big Tig. So so they know each other very well. And I'm sure they're besties, because they worked with each other, coming in the morning, working at the radio station every day. So you can tell that Shamea so the first song Shamea did, you can tell she was nervous. She made a few mistakes. I could even hear it, but you can tell she was nervous. Overall, though, she did a good job. And then they show Brit and Drew in their confessionals talking shit like they always do, So Drew and Brit in their confessionals, they were shading Shamea, and they were saying that she sounded off key. Yeah, especially Drew. She was saying she sounded off key. She didn't sound confident, and she was, you can tell she was nervous. And and Drew said, as a resident R&B singer, she can judge and she critique because that's what she does. That's within her field. And I can give that to Drew because Drew is a singer. So yes, Drew, you get a pass for that. You can talk your shit and criticize Shamea and give us your little 2 cents about it. But Brit, like, what do you do, bro? Like, you don't even sing. But Brit was just shading her just to be shady because, they have beef going on, So that's what they were doing in their confessionals. So then they show them like, so the showcase was over. So the showcase is over, but they're all still there in the lobby of the facility. And then they have Angela, all the girls, were having a little pop, little, how they do. They gather around and talk and stuff like that as they're filming. So Angela invites the girls to the Oakley Foundation gala. So she's sharing with the girls, hey, we're going to have a gala. And she's inviting them and she's telling them, what the gala's about, what the organization is for. And then Brit chimes in and says something about, I don't even know how they got to the subject. I can't remember. But Brit says something about Kelly, how many followers Kelly has on Instagram. And she was saying that all of a sudden Kelly ended up having like 80,000 more followers. And so she was saying that those followers were fake, that they weren't real people. And then Kelly's like, well, why are you worried about what I got going on? Like, why are you worried about how many followers I have and stuff, So, which is true. And then Brit was like, well, we were close at once upon a time. So, I noticed it and I looked, She made it her business, I guess. So then Shamea comes over to talk to the girls. And she's talking to Brit and Cynthia. And Brit, rather. Excuse me. She pulls Brit to the side. So she was like, hey, I just want to talk to you. She was like, Cynthia told me that you was talking ish about me, and that you showed them the messages between. Well, she told Cynthia told Shamea that Brit said that Shamea showed her and Kelly text messages between Porsha and her, and Brit told this to them at her house. I know it's a lot of she said, he said, she said, and he said. I know it's a lot. So Brit said that, Brit said, well, you did, you did show us those text messages. So Brit, Brit had held her ground. Now I will say that I'll have to give her, props for that because she didn't back down. She didn't say, oh, well, you didn't do that. Oh, you're right. You didn't show us your text messages. And, she didn't back down. So because Brit didn't back down, as much as between the two, I like Shamea more than I like Brit. But Brit stood 10 toes down. I have to give her props. And I like how she did that because she just was like, yeah, you did. You showed us text messages between you and Porsha. You said you didn't like Porsha. You said that you felt that Porsha was jealous. The Porsha was a hater. And then Shamea was like, I did not say that. I did not, I did not show you the text messages. So Shamea went on defense mode. And she was just trying to, You know what I'm saying? She wasn't going for that. So they start arguing. So they're going back and forth and arguing. So then Shamea tells Brit, "You're just jealous because me and Kelly are friends." And then Brit was like, "Okay, you want to go there?" So then she's like, she brings up Shamea's daughter. She brings Shiloh up. And she says, "You should have been home with your daughter instead of being in Miami, popping drinks and taking shots and drinking with Kelly in Miami. You should have went home to your daughter." So I guess she's trying to say when they were in Grenada, whatever however way you pronounce that country, Grenada. She's saying that you should have went straight home to Atlanta and went straight home to Shiloh if Shiloh was really that sick and if she was really that ill. Instead, you were still in Miami kicking it and having fun and drinking with Kelly. So that's what Brit said. And then Shamea's like, "Girl, what? Like, don't even talk about my daughter." And she said, don't bring my daughter up. Don't even talk about my daughter. You know, because basically Brit was trying to say she wasn't really sick. And if she was sick, why were you still in Miami? Your ass should have been in Atlanta on the next thing smoking. So they go back and forth and they're arguing. And then Shamea just leaves. So that was that scene. And then next we have Kelly at her house waking the girls up. And then they show, it's like, these three next scenes are small little scenes. They're not even like the actual scene. They're not like real actual scenes. They just show you like a little clip and then it goes away. So they show Kelly in the house waking the girls up. Then they show Ralph. He called Drew to ask her if he can come upstairs so he can talk to her because he's in the basement. So she's like, "Yeah, you can come upstairs. We can talk." And then they show Brit shopping for an airplane with her husband. Now, come on. Girl, Brit. Really? Brit, you didn't even have money to pay the people at the country club. How the hell you going to have some money to go pay and buy a plane, a jet, a private plane, and then also you acting like you that busy. You're not even busy. Like most people who have their private planes are really super rich people and also people who have a lot to do. Like they have to travel back and forth. Okay, like maybe people like Jay-Z, Beyonce, or Tyler Perry or somebody who has to be in LA and Atlanta and or somebody who's on tour going back and forth and they can't go through the regular airline. Just because you used to mess with Rick Ross and everybody know Rose has his own plane, you know? And so he has a private jet. So just because you said you used to mess with him and now you think you on that level. Brit, calm down. Sit your ass down somewhere. Like, no. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. You do not need a private jet for what? You're not a famous celebrity. You're not a singer. You're not a rapper. You're not a R&B singer. You're not a basketball player. You're not a football player. I'm not saying business people can't have private jets. They do. But those business people, they're like busy. Tyler Perry, somebody like that, you know, people, you know, who are business owners or who are entrepreneurs, who are busy, who have places to be. You're not busy. You're not booked and busy is what I'm saying. You are not booked and busy. You like to pretend you're booked and busy, but you're not, honey. And then you couldn't even feed those people at the country club, and you have the nerves. That was out of pocket. That was so fake and phony. As my daughter's grandma used to always say, that was as fake as a $3 bill. Okay? Fake as a $3 bill. But okay, you know, I digress because they try to play us. So then we're back to Kelly's house, and she said that she's a wino and she drinks a lot because of her kids. And that's true though, because every time I see her, she always has a drink in her hand. Always. She always has a drink in her hand. She's always drinking. And then she talks about she's trying to open her other location, the Sandy Springs location. She can't open it because she's still married. She has to wait for the divorce to happen for her to open the next location, because if she opens it while she's still married, he can be entitled to some of that money. So Sandy Springs is on hold until she gets her divorce, until the divorce is final. And then also she's in all this money she's racking up all this, fees. So she really doesn't have that much coming in. But then she has to pay all this money to get the place remodeled and ready to open. So that was that scene. Next scene is Drew's house. So they're showing Ralph is playing the piano. I guess he made his butt upstairs. So he's playing the piano, and Drew comes up and she says, "Oh, so you miss playing the piano?" And he says, "Yes." And then they start talking about their parenting arrangement. Drew shares that the kids are in Chicago with her mother, and so they're talking about the co-parenting. Ralph is complaining about the judge, the changes that the judge has made to their agreement. So he's saying that he's not able to see the kids Monday through Friday. He can't take them to school. He can't participate in the activities that he used to participate in. And so he's saying that he's not happy about that. So Drew says, I understand that. I understand that that's what the judge said and that's the judge's orders, but we can have our own understanding and our own agreement, So she said, if you want to see the kids, if you want to do things with the kids, just let me know and I will make it happen, And so he was like happy about that. So he's like, okay, cool, let's do it. And they high five on each other. And, and he said, going forward, he wants to have a partnership and co-parent and try to work things out between them versus having, the judge making all these orders and decisions. My thing is, y'all should have did that from the beginning, but everything went left, and all the arguing and fighting and being petty and stuff is what led them to having a messy divorce. And I think to this day they're still not divorced. And the judge and the courts had to get in between y'all business because y'all couldn't, handle it on your own and maintain order. But now he's acting like, in this scene, he's acting like, okay, yeah, well, let's do that. Let's do it. And they high five, and it seemed like everything was cool and hunky dory, right? But then fast forward to a few months ago when he was crashing out and he was posting pictures of Drew with what's her name, Ty Young, and then he was saying that Drew was messing with her producer Black, and just crashing out and just posting text messages, pictures, and doing all sorts of things. And I'm like, what? When I saw that scene, I was confused because I was like, he over here high-fiving and said, let's do this, but then I don't know what happened that caused him to crash out when he exposed Drew a few weeks or a month ago. And I made a video about that, guys. So go check out the video that's is titled Exposed. It's titled Exposed. It's got Drew, Brit on the thumbnail, and someone else. I can't remember who the other person is. But anyway, so he's he's petty and he's emotional and he be on a roller coaster. But nevertheless, that was the scene there. So the next scene, we have Phaedra on a date. She's on a date with the young thing that she's messing with. Okay, so Phaedra has a young boyfriend. Now, this relationship, what is given to me is given that this relationship is not gonna last. It's not gonna last. It's how they say, I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a short time. That's what he's saying. That's what he's given. He's given that he's here for a short time, not a long time. And I think he may be Nigerian, if I'm not mistaken. If he's not Nigerian, I think he's some kind of African. He's from Africa. So they go on a date to a winery, the Chateau Winery, which is one of the wineries. We actually have a lot of wineries here in Georgia. We have a lot of them in northern Georgia. There's a lot of wineries, and Chateau Elan is one of the famous ones. They actually have a golf course, and they have a house, and they have houses rather in that winery. It's like a huge place. There's houses there. There's actually people who live there. And so this is a side T for y'all. This is a side T for those of you who don't know. Like I said, there used to be houses there. There is houses there, and it's a golf course. Guess who used to live in that winery, Chantoyland? Lil Durk. Lil Durk, the rapper. He lived in Atlanta for years. A lot of people don't know that he lived in Atlanta because, he's always, talking about Chicago. He's from Chicago, so he's always talks about Chicago. Made it seem like during his heydays he was living in Chicago. But right now they moved to LA. So before they moved to LA, and before his career even took off, he was living in Atlanta. He lived in Atlanta for years. But he used to live there. As a matter of fact, the house that he owns at Chateau Ylene is still there. It's still there. He still owns that house. That's the house that he was trying to put up as bond in order to get out of the pickle that he's in now. As y'all know, if you follow him, he's locked up right now in California on some charges, and he was trying to get out on bond. And he put up some cash money and some properties. One of the properties that he put up is that house that he owns there that's at the winery there. That winery has houses. Like I said, a lot of rich, wealthy people live there, and he used to live there. So anyway, nevertheless, Porsha was with her young boyfriend, and she's calling him a young whippersnapper, and she said, and the producer in her confessional asked her if she was interested in marriage, if she plans on getting married. Phaedra says no, she doesn't plan, and that she's not interested in getting married. She might not be interested in marrying him, but I'm sure eventually if she finds somebody her own age and has the kind of money that she's looking for, I'm sure her ass will settle down and marry somebody. But this particular dude, no. He's too young, and he looked like, to me personally, in my opinion, and allegedly, it was giving clout chasing. He's there because he knows who Phaedra is. She's wealthy. She's on this TV show. It's given to me an opportunist and clout chasing. That's my opinion. That's what he's given. Not her, but that's what he's given. So next we have Brit at her house, and her mom and Michael are in the kitchen as always. They always film in the kitchen, talking about having the family over for food, for dinner, and they're gonna have both of their families over, his side and her side, and the mom finally moved in with them, and so then when Brit family shows up, and they're all there, not all, but the two sisters are there. The main important thing is the two sisters. The two sisters that she's always crying about, and they're all always crying with each other about, they were there. And Mike's family members that we seen on episode 2 or 4, whatever episode it was that we seen, they were there too. It looks like Michael's family, they're close, and they're stable, and they have some sense about them. Brit's family, her and her sisters, they're not stable. They be beefing, crying, arguing, fighting, talking shit to each other, and all a hot mess. I guess she said ever since her father passed, they've been going through it. They've been struggling with their relationships, and they haven't been getting along. So I'm guessing her father was the glue that held everything together, and ever since he passed, everything has just been chaotic. So they come over, they have everyone over for dinner, and it was a nice scene, and it was nice to see her family together. Now, as you all know, Brit is leaving the show. I kind of wish that she would have stayed because they could have explored this storyline. So then Brit is telling them, like, okay, I have an announcement, and everybody's like, oh, you're pregnant. She says, no, I'm not pregnant. We're going to do our wedding ceremony, and then after the wedding ceremony, we're going to get married. Or have the baby, my thing is, okay, you guys are married already. So you guys are married. Why don't you guys just go ahead and have the wedding ceremony so you can go ahead and get pregnant? Because, the clock is ticking. Because isn't she like 40-something? I don't think Brit is in her 30s. I thought Brit was in her 40s. I don't know. I have to look it up. But if she is in her 30s, she's probably in her late 30s. And those pregnancies end up being risk. Anytime I think over 35, they consider you a risk pregnancy. So she need to hurry up and get it in. Okay, you need to hurry up and do what you need to do and have this baby. So that was that. So the next scene is the Charles Oakley Foundation Gala. So everyone looks nice. The gala was somewhere downtown. I think it was one of the hotels downtown. It looked nice, and everybody came in there looking nice. I think for me, in my opinion, the best dress was Porsha and Kelly. And Angela too. Angela was okay. But the best one, in my opinion, for me is Porsha, then is Kelly. The two fashionistas, honey. The two fashionistas. They were looking nice, okay? Their stylist was working overtime. Brit was okay. I didn't like Brit's hair. I like Brit's dress, but I didn't like Brit's hair. And Angela, I liked Angela's dress. I really didn't care too much for her hair either. And then Phaedra, I'm trying to remember Phaedra. Phaedra looked okay. She looked okay. I didn't like how her hair was done up either. Drew looked a hot mess. I didn't like Drew's hair. I didn't like her dress. Shamea, that's my girl. I like her, but Shamea, I didn't like what she had on. I didn't like Shamea's dress and whatever it was, pantsuit, whatever it was. I don't know what it was, but I didn't like it because I didn't like the hood, and it looked like Little Red Riding Hood. And every single time they showed her, she would have the hood on. Well, I think a couple times they showed her she didn't have it on. But when they would show her and she had it on, I didn't like it. It was given like, Little Red Riding Hood. And then Cynthia's dress was okay. But like I said, Porsha and Kelly ate for me. For me, that's who did it for me. So Angela says that she did a research and she found out that the guy, Marcus, was paid to come on the show and say what he said about Charles. She said that her and Drew met with him to get to the bottom of it. So they show Angela on the phone with Drew talking about Marcus, saying that saying that they're trying to get to the bottom of who it was that paid Marcus to say what he said. So basically they're saying that someone on the show told Marcus to come there to do what he did, to say, Angela, your husband's cheating on you. Your husband has came into my restaurants with another woman. So someone on the show has paid him to do what he did, is what Angela's saying. So then, so Brit tells Porsha that Shamea is mad at her because Cynthia went back and told Shamea that Brit said, here we go again. Porsha said that Brit said that she showed them text messages between her and Porsha. So Cynthia went back and told Shamea that. And then Porsha says that she has a lot going on in her life. She doesn't have any time to worry about Shamea and what Shamea is talking about behind her back. And Porsha said that she is not thinking about Shamea. So Portia's like, girl, listen, okay? Shamea can say whatever she wants to say. I'm not going to rebuttal. I'm not going to confront her. I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to argue with her. I already had a conversation with her. We already talked and we already squashed everything. At least that's what I thought. I thought we had squashed everything and we were moving forward. But apparently Shamea is going behind my back talking shit. Shamea is going behind my back talking shit. Shamea is going behind my back showing people text messages saying I'm jealous. This is not what Porsha said. This is what I'm saying for Porsha. I'm speaking for Porsha right now. So, she's doing all this stuff, and Portia's like, I have too much going on. My cousin just passed. I'm in the middle of a divorce. Dennis is out here trying to film with Drew on the show. Girl, it's a lot. I got a lot going on. and I can't be worried about Shamea and her shenanigans, so I don't even care, you know? So that's what Porsha was pretty much telling Brit. She was like, I don't care. So then at the gala, they honor Porsha. So Angela gets up, you know, they're doing the gala, so they're speaking, Charles is speaking, Angela's speaking. Angela gets up there, she says that she would like to honor Porsha and her cousin Londi, because Londi used to do a lot of work for Hosea Feed the Hungry. For those of you who don't know, who don't live in Georgia, Hosea Feed the Hungry is it's a foundation. It's like a charity thing that Porsha's granddad is named after him. And each year, especially during the holidays, especially at Thanksgiving, they feed people throughout the year, but especially at Thanksgiving, it's like a big thing. Every Thanksgiving, they're always on the news. You know, the news always reaches out to them because they feed a lot of people, and they do this Thanksgiving dinner, and they give out food to the hungry people and the homeless people of the city. So it's an organization that Londi was heavily involved in because it's her grandfather's namesake. And so is Porsha as well. And I think Lauren, all of them, like the whole Williams family. So they honored Porsha. And Porsha started to cry. She was brought to tears, you know, because obviously the passing of her cousin, and then to be honored, and you know, and just the whole thing. So then Angela starts to cry. Porsha, I'm sorry, y'all. Porsha starts to cry, you know, and they go to the bathroom. Everybody's comforting her, and, you know, and just trying to be there for her and hugging her and helping her through this difficult time of her life. So then Angela started talking about the guy, Marcus, and she said that he was hired by someone in the group. So basically, after the gala was, so let me go back. So after the gala was finished, and, you know, they gave Porsha her honor. She was crying, and everybody was comforting her. They got her to calm down and collect herself. So then they go to an area and they sit down, the whole cast. So then they're all talking. So then Angela starts talking, and she's like, the guy, Marcus, who approached me, who had the nerve and the audacity to approach me about my husband, Charles, was sent by someone. Someone sent for him. Someone paid him, or someone sent for him. And everybody's like, who? It's like this is $1 million question. Who did it? You know? And in Portia's words, who said that? You know? Remember when anyway, that was corny. So then Angela says that she thought it was Kelly at first. For some reason, she thought it was Kelly. And she said that her and Drew have been trying to get to the bottom of it. And then Kelly's like, well, why would you think it's me? She was like, me? She was like, girl, I got too much going on to be sitting here worried about what Charles is doing or what Charles is not doing. So it was not me. And so then Drew gets up and goes to go get the guy, Marcus. So she goes and gets Marcus and tries to bring Marcus to over where all the girls were sitting and talking, and where the camera is and all that stuff. So then Charles, he sees them. He saw her, you know, bringing Marcus over there. So Charles comes over there, and Charles is like, hey, man, check this out. Look here, bruh. Look here. He's like, get the hell away from here. He's like, go. You know, get away from here. Leave. You're not welcome here. You're not invited. Leave. He was like, you disrespected me. You know, you disrespected me as a man. You disrespected my name. You're talking ish about me. Get the hell out of here. So Charles is hot. He's hot. He's hot as fish grease, okay? And he's trying to, you know, kick him out of there. And then Angela's like, no, leave him alone. Leave him alone. No. So she runs over there and she gets him, and she's like grabbing Marcus by his hand, trying to bring him back over there. And Charles is like, what are you doing? Like, he needs to get out of here. And then she's trying to, and then in the confessional, she says that she was trying to clear Charles's name. Because Marcus is going around talking ish about Charles, saying that Charles is cheating on Angela. Angela's telling Charles that I'm trying to clear your name because he's talking shit about you. Charles says, my name's already cleared, honey. My name's already cleared. You don't have to clear my name because, I'm not with the bullshit. I am not with the bullshit. And Charles said, he's not doing anything crazy, so you don't need to clear my name. That's what he was saying in the confessional. He's like, you don't need to clear my name. And Angela's like, well, I feel like I do, okay? I feel like I need to clear your name. This is what I'm saying. In my opinion, I'm speaking for her again. She's like, I need to clear your name because obviously you're not doing a good job of clearing your name, so I got to do that shit for you, bro. So then Marcus comes back. He sits down. He tells everybody that it was Phaedra. Lord have mercy. Excuse me. Phaedra. He tells everybody that it was Phaedra. Phaedra is the one that, that put him up to doing that. He said that Phaedra has a connection to Athens, Georgia, because, Phaedra is from Athens, which is outside of Atlanta, east, going towards, South Carolina, going that way, east of Atlanta, outside of Atlanta. So Athens, Georgia. And so everybody's trying to figure out, like, why would Phaedra say that? And Phaedra's like, I didn't say that. I don't know what he's talking about. And then he says that Phaedra is the godfather of Atlanta. I was like, Cap, I live in Atlanta. I'm not saying I know everybody. I'm not saying I'm in with the celebrities. I'm not, that's above my pay grade. But nobody talks about her as being the godfather. So I don't know where he got that from, but he just pulled that out of his ass. But he says he's the godfather, and Phaedra's like, I am not nobody's god. I'm not the godfather. The one who runs Atlanta. I'll probably, in the celebrity scene, in that clique black scene, I'll probably say Candy before I say Phaedra. I would say the godfather is Candy way before I would say it's Phaedra. It's not Phaedra. But anyway, it was a reach. And so Phaedra's like, why would I do that? Then Angela says, are you jealous, Phaedra? Is it because I have a ring and you want one and you're not married and you're doing this out of jealousy? And then, Phaedra's defending herself and rebutting. And then the guy says that he got this information from someone named Junebug. Junebug. Now, everybody has a June bug, okay, in the family. Not everybody, but most country folks know a June bug. And so then everybody in their confessional is saying something about a June bug. Cynthia says something about a June bug. Porsha said in her confessional that this sounded like a scheme that Todd set up. Now, when she said that, I was laughing. She was laughing, too, because if you're a fan of the show, everybody knows this will go on forever. Aunt Bertha said it was a scheme that Todd set up to come to you with the bullshit. I was trying to say the way she said it. And then she twirls in her seat. And that is classic. That is classic. That's going to live on forever. Aunt Bertha, you're an OG for that. So it was a scheme that Todd set up to come to you with the bullshit. Because that's exactly what it seemed like. And that's what Porsha said. Porsha said, Todd, I don't know where you at, but I know you set this up. Okay? So Angela keeps saying that Porsha is jealous of her. I mean, that Phaedra. Gosh, I keep saying Porsha because their names is similar. Angela is saying that Phaedra is jealous of her, and that is probably why she set Marcus up to do this BS. So then Charles, obviously he got mad. He left. He said he's too old for this shit and he ain't got time for this shit, so he leaves. Everybody's arguing and fighting. He leaves. And then the credits start to show for the finale. Because this was the finale, y'all. So then, they freeze on Angela, and then they give like the little credits about Angela for the season. It says Angela lost some homes in a foreclosure, but she's still, an entrepreneur. She started some kind of new thing, selling fans or something like that. And then Drew and Ralph is still not divorced, and Drew's still working on her music. And then for Shamea says, Shiloh, it's okay, but she's still going through her health struggles. and Shamea is still working on her music. And then Cynthia, I can't remember what they said about Cynthia. And Kelly, her divorce was final in 2024, and she's still trying to open the Sandy Springs location. So it's Drew, Angela, Kelly. I can't remember what they said about Cynthia. And then for Porsha, this is what's cute. For Porsha, they show the last scene for Porsha. They show her in her home working out, which I thought was weird because she's on a walker, and it looked like it was her bedroom. As big as that house is, first of all, Porsha, as big as that house is, why you don't have a gym in the house or a different room where all your workout stuff is? Why does she have like one of those things that you walk on, a treadmill? That's what it's called, a treadmill. She was on a treadmill, and then she gets off the treadmill and starts picking up toys and cleaning up the room. It looked like it was her bedroom, number one. And then number two, it didn't look like she had workout clothes. It looked like it was regular. I don't know, but I didn't like that. Because I'm like, that treadmill could have went somewhere else. As big as that house is, or shit, put it in the garage somewhere. But it's not my house. So it's not my house. I can't tell the girl what to do. But I thought that was tacky. Didn't care for it, in my opinion. So then Porsha goes in her confessional. She tells us that she's happy. She finally gets to film in her house. She finally gets to film her house because, as you all know, Simon had told Bravo they couldn't film in that house because at that time they were going through their ugly divorce. So, but she was able to. I don't know how it happened though, because the divorce just became final, and the prenup agreement was just done. I think it was June 11th. So, and this was from last year. So, and there was snow when they showed that picture. So we had snow in January, and so I'm thinking, how were they able to film this scene because they were still not divorced yet? I don't know. Somehow, some way they were able to film it. So she was able to film in that house, and then they show PJ running around the house. Beautiful house, big house, and it was during the winter because there was snow on the ground. So then, and there was Christmas trees, and then her mom comes over, Miss Diane. Miss Diane is beautiful, guys. I love Miss Diane. I'm one of them people that love Miss Diane because I listen to some content creators who hate Porsha, and all they do is talk shit about Porsha all day long. One particular content creator that even went to the courthouse to film the divorce settlement, that person be going in on Porsha for no reason. I don't know what her problem is, but let me not. Okay, I'm getting off topic and going left, but let me bring it back in. But anyway, I'm not one of those content creators. Like, for me, I'm like this: if I like the person, I like them. And if they do something that I don't like and they're wrong, I'm going to say in my commentary, I'm going to say what they did wrong and in my opinion, how I felt it was wrong. But I'm not going to lie on celebrities just to get clicks and views. I'm not going to make up stuff. I'm not going to talk shit about them just to be mean and hateful. If they're doing something that is effed up, I will say that and I will drag them for that. And then if I agree with them on something, then I will. Now, the ones that I don't like for example, I don't like Drew, but I don't really drag Drew like that. Like, if Drew does something wrong, I'm going to speak on it. And if Drew does something good or great, that's, or whatever, that's positive, I'm going to give her props. And I'm going to say, Drew did this and Drew said this and this is positive. But I'm not going to lie and make up lies and then be hateful towards Drew. I'm not going to do that just because I don't care for her. But there's some content creators that are like that. They will pick certain celebrities that they absolutely hate, and they will tell you that they hate this celebrity, and they will be so mean and hateful and drag them and make up shit. There's a lot of people who do that on this YouTube streets, and I don't like that. I don't want to be that kind of channel. Like, I'm going to tell you who I like, who I don't like, but I'm not going to be evil towards the person that I don't like. Okay, that's not right. But but everybody has the right to run their channels the way they want to run their channels, And one of the reasons why I became a content creator is because of that. Because I got tired of hearing these content creators who just home in and zoom in on people they don't like, and they make up false stories and start talking shit. Like one of the people is, not to be off topic, but Melody Cherie Rogers. I like Melody, love Melody, and there's like some content creators that just drag her makeup stuff and just who are hateful towards her for no reason. And Mel hasn't said nothing to them, ain't did nothing to them, and they just be evil towards her, and I don't like that, And then again, I don't want my channel to be one of those channels. So anyway, back to the Real Housewives, y'all. So then her mom comes over, Miss Diane, and they're sitting on the couch, they're talking, and she's telling her that, this divorce has pretty much lasted as long as the marriage. The divorce process for Porsha and Simon has lasted as long as the marriage lasted, pretty much. And so Porsha's, looking forward to when it's going to be finally over and it's behind her. And she says, that the judge said that she can remain in the house, and that's why she's able to film. Maybe they filmed that scene in June when the judge did uphold the prenup agreement, and they just showed the snow just to be shown to snow. I don't know, because that's what threw me off, because I was like, okay, but that just happened in June. But then they showed the outside of the house, and there was snow on the ground, and we had snow in January. So that's what threw me off. So maybe they just did that scene of the house with the snow, and it was beautiful, and then they went back to show us them now talking. But no, because then when she walked in the house, there was Christmas trees by the door. Anyway, child, this is stressful, trying to figure out what Bravo did. Trying to figure out what production did is stressful. But anyway, nevertheless, she got to film in the house. The judge upheld the prenup agreement. Porsha gets to live in the house until 2027. She can sell it or buy Simon out. She gets $40,000 a month. She gets to keep the Rolls Royce. I can't even talk. Sorry. She gets to keep the car. Okay, the RR. She gets to keep it. So that was it, guys. Okay, this was episode 17. So the episode ends with Porsha in her house with her mom doing a toast to divine alignment. And I want to be in divine alignment too. So that was it. And they shaded Simon a little bit, and they said he was detained by ICE and the divorce was on ICE. I thought that was a little bit of shade there, Bravo. The producer had fun doing that part right there. They couldn't help themselves. I don't blame them, because who would have thought out of 100 years, crazy Trump becomes president, and then he does this thing where he's sweeping the country and deporting people, and Simon Guboria ends up being deported back to Nigeria. So I can see where the shady producer of Bravo couldn't help themselves then to insert that in the final episode of season 16 in Porsha's scene. There you have it, guys. That's it. That's all. Episode 17. The end. I will see you guys on the next video. Please subscribe to this channel. Help the channel grow. Comment, like, and I will see you on the next video. Thank you.